You guys ever had Prison Mike work on your trailer?
I've never been to prison.
Turns out he's actually pretty good at putting silicone on. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the RV Guys. It is June 15th and it is hot. The last couple of days have been in the hundreds, which is extremely high for us this time of year, but it got me thinking about some of the more common problems that we see with high temperature camping environments, and the most common thing that we see a lot of is refrigerator complaints as far as cooling when the fridge is in high temp situations. So I want to do a little video and talk about some of the tips and tricks for RV refrigerators, what you can do to maximize the cooling of your fridge, and maybe a few preventative maintenance things that you could do as well. But the first, what I will call a tip for RV refrigerators that you need to do, especially in these hot, warmer months, is first of all, get the fridge started 24 hours before you're ready to leave your trip. If you're at your house and plugged in, you want to flip it on auto, run it on electric, whatever, flip it on gas, either one's fine, but start that refrigerator up 24 hours before you load anything into it. That way the fridge has time to get down into the 30s on the temperature, and then you load your stuff in the next day and it's already down to temperature, you're ready to go. If you go the other way and wait to turn it on until an hour before you go or right up to when you leave, it's going to spend 3 to 4 days, maybe even 5 days with that warm food in there trying to cool down, and then it's fighting the outside temperature. So 24 hours before, first tip, get that fridge going, get it all the way cooled down before you load your stuff in, and it'll be a much better trip as far as keeping your food cool. When you are dealing with RV fridges, you're primarily looking at two different brands. We've got Norcold and Dometic. They're the two most common. So you can see on this one here, they've got their simple on-off feature. We're on auto, which means it's going to automatically select between gas or electric. If we plug into electric, it's going to run electric. If we unplug, it's going to go to gas. It's also got the setting where you can flip it on gas all the time, and then your temperature setting here on the side. This is the first thing I kind of wanted to talk about with these fridges. If you have a fridge that has a temperature setting, when you get into the warmer months, June, July, August, maybe even September, you need to run that on the coldest setting all the way up, whether it's 5, whether it's 9, whatever it may be. Turn that thing all the way up. I haven't found an RV fridge really that in the hotter months didn't need to be on that highest setting. That's where they need to be if you want to keep it below 40 degrees. Alright, here's another example of a Norcold refrigerator. This is their larger quad door series fridge. So you got double freezer on the top, double fridge on the bottom. The reason I wanted to point out this style of fridge is the bigger the fridge, the bigger the storage capacity, generally the longer it takes to get them to cool down. So again, it's going to be crucial that you make sure and start these up the day before, give them opportunity to cool down. Now, because these are bigger and take a little more effort to cool, they do put some additional features on these fridges. I know that this version of Norcold's fridge has a fan on the interior to help move the air around, but they also required there to be fans on the back between the wall and the fridge to help move that hot air out, because that's ultimately how we get our cooling, is we are removing heat from inside of the fridge, absorbing the heat, and then it's venting it out the outside to create the cooling inside the fridge. So these types of refrigerators, you're going to hear noise, especially when the hotter parts of the day. You're going to hear those fans kicking on and running. We'll get that complained occasionally too, like, hey, my fridge is making a buzzing noise and it's going all the time, and doesn't do it all the time, or it's constantly going, and it's generally related to heat. So the hotter it is back there, that has to be able to move that heat out or we don't get cooling. So those noises are good. If you're hearing that buzzing noise, those fans are working, and that's probably what's helping your fridge to cool. Another important factor that contributes to the cooling on refrigerators is how it's vented. So each fridge has to some way vent that heat that it's removing from inside the refrigerator box to the outside. This one, as you can see, is a sidewall side vent setup. These are the hardest ones to cool. That we have our heat source down here, and then as it removes heat from the fridge, it has to vent up and out the top. Where this one's not going straight through the roof, it has to vent out this side compartment, so you will always generally have fans associated with these side vent installs. If they don't have a fan, it was probably a mistake from the factory. So you'll hear the fans running to help move that heat up and through the top. So if you have a side vent refrigerator install, just know that those also, it takes a little bit of extra effort to get them to cool. And one tip that you can do to help with that is try and park this side of the trailer out of the sun where you're camping. I know that may not always be ideal, but if you can get this side in the shade or protected by a tree, it's going to cool a lot better because it's not getting baked by the sun. It's able to move that heat out a lot better. So happened to luck out. Daniel actually needed to pull out this big 4-door refrigerator, the Norcold. This is our 2118 series. So just to give you an idea, here are the 2 fans on the back, which help to get that. What it does is it grabs air from this lower vent over here, pulls it up through, goes over the fins here, and then vents it out, our top vent up on the sidewall of the trailer. And as you can see, there's some baffling here to force that air out. We got a baffle up here and a baffle here. If that air doesn't get out and sits in here and warms up, then the fridge isn't going to work either. So that gives you an idea what the fan setup is on the back. Again, they're crucial for these larger refrigerators and anything that has a sidewall vent setup. Alright, this trailer gives us an example of a roof vented refrigerator system, and these ones do vent easier. They can get that heat out a lot better because it just goes straight up and out the roof. So you can see we got our lower access port here. This is where we draw the air in, and then up top, here's our rooftop vent where the heat can exit out the top of the trailer. Again, these are a little nicer where they move that heat up out a little bit better, but you can install fans on these fridges as well. If you've got one that's not cooling very well and you want to give it a little bit of extra help, you can install one of those fan kits on there to help move that air out. So the next question is, what can you do preventative wise to get these things to cool a little bit better? Well, we can always take the vents off and check and see if anything's blocked the flow of air from down and up and out of the trailer. If you've got insulation that's fallen down, or maybe a baffle that's fallen down, you can always check and make sure that it's got free range to flow and vent. Other thing we can do is always open up these access covers on the outside and just take an air nozzle and just blow all the dirt and debris out of there to make sure, number one, it's not a fire hazard. Number two, dirt and debris can affect our heat source as far as our propane or our electric heating elements. So just keep those compartments clean, make sure it can vent, and other than that, you need to really get it into your local RV experts like us here at CNR, and we can check to make sure that the fridge is operating properly. Okay, here's an example of a Dometic. It took me a while to search to find one, but these are actually more common than the Norcolds. But this is an example of a Dometic one. It's got our on-off switch here, our auto or gas selector switch, but this has the automatic temperature control. So this one you can't set a temperature higher or lower, a 1 through 5, 1 through 9, whatever. Do I dare open this? Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you on these. So here's the adjustable thermistor inside of this fridge. Over here, you've got colder, higher, warmer, lower. You can slide this up and down, and this thermistor is just mounted inside of that holder. So again, if you have a fridge that doesn't have an adjustable temperature setting, you can reach in there and slide that thermistor up and down, and should help you a couple of degrees cooler or warmer. So one question that we get sometimes, and what you may be wondering is, well, what temperature should I expect my fridge to be at? The industry standard as far as Dometic Norcold refrigerators is anywhere in the, if you look in the manuals, it's like 42 degrees and lower. In normal conditions, you should probably see mid 30s, so 35, 36. When you get into those really hot summer days, though, you can expect to see 40 or 39. One complaint that we get a lot is, well, my fridge was down about 33, 34 degrees, and now it's at 40, 41. Well, when it was at 32 or 33, it was probably in the spring or fall or a cool day, and when we get into those really hot days, you can expect that they'll be up there 39, 40. We start getting above 42 and 41, there's probably an issue there that we can help correct and get it down lower. But normal conditions, you know, camp in early spring, late fall, you may have to turn that fridge down because it may start to freeze. So it's all based on the conditions that you are camping and how cool it is, how warm it is, but mid-30s is what you can expect from your refrigerator. All right, the last thing I wanted to mention about RV fridges is how they're different from your fridge at home. A lot of people feel like, hey, this fridge doesn't work like my one at home. It doesn't cool as well, and that's just how they're designed. They are not as efficient as your at-home refrigerator. They take a lot longer to cool down initially, and they also take a lot longer to recover once the door is open. So if you're camping, got a lot of kids, people in and out of your trailer, the best thing is you open that fridge, get in, get what you need, and shut the door. If that fridge door is open for 30 seconds to a minute, you can expect an hour to 2 hours of recovery time for that lost cool air. So if it's constantly being open, left open, and closed, you're going to have a struggle that weekend, especially if it's a warm summer month, of keeping the fridge down to temperature. It just takes longer to recover. So tip number 2 or 3, whatever tip we've talked about, open, get your stuff, close the fridge door. The less you open that door, the better, because it takes double, triple the time to recover versus your one at home. And I think that's it. I covered, I think, everything that I wanted to cover. If you guys have any questions about your RV refrigerator or maybe something I didn't cover, hit us up in the comments. We'll be happy to do another video at a later time and maybe answer some of those questions. So again, thanks for watching. We hope you guys are enjoying the camping season and hope that your fridges are staying cold, keeping your food nice and cool. Thanks for watching.